Apple are getting set to allegedly release a trio of new smartphones, including one very big one, which they reckon might be for the Asian market, but also one that's very similar to the iPhone X, but cheaper. Now, this is interesting because when the iPhone X, which is the current one, was released, one of the big criticisms of it was that it was a very expensive phone. So, in the studio this week, we have audio producer and technology expert Olivia Rosenman and ABC RN's online science and technology reporter Ariel Bogle here. So, let's talk about the strategy, right? So, does this suggest, this alleged suite of new phones suggest that Apple are tweaking their strategy, which they rolled out with the iPhone X?
Apple has had sort of problematic sales. They've had some bad headlines about the fall in sales of some of its smartphone products. And it's also happening against a bigger background of declining phone sales overall. I think Gartner, one of the analysts out there, said there was a 5.6 decline in the fourth quarter of 2017 in smartphone sales worldwide.
So 5.6%?
5.6%, yeah,
right.
Which is quite significant.
Is that because people have stopped having multiple phones? Like, how does that even work?
Well, they're talking about it. They're saying that people are upgrading less often. So they might be investing in a better smartphone and then getting a new one less often. They might be unimpressed by the sort of more budget phones out there. So these are like a lot of the concerns, and a lot of these are concerns that Apple also has, because it's increasingly hard to make the argument that an upgrade is a priority, that it's necessary, because these phones are looking similar each time they come out. They have just slight tweaks to the old features. It's hard for them to make an argument.
They lack that big sense of excitement that once upon a time a new phone had. Although I will argue that the iPhone X probably felt like the most exciting of the new phones for a period of time. Actually, before we get kind of deep into the weeds with Apple, do you guys have rules about how often you upgrade a phone, or do you just wait for your one to break, or do you like go, yeah, every 2 years I'll do that?
No, I just wait for it to break as long as possible.
Yeah,
is my go-to rule.
Yeah, I also wait for it to break him, essentially.
I don't know why I'm laughing at this. It's actually a totally legitimate strategy. You shouldn't just have this internal chronometer about, oh, my goodness, it's 2019. I'm due for a new phone.
I've never understood that sort of, regular drive to just...
I wait for the planned obsolescence of Apple products when they release a new one, and so like magically your phone starts slowing down for, I don't know, no good reason. That's what I wait for.
Yep. I've been trying to invest in the small fixes. So I've got my screen fixed a couple of times now because I hate covers and I drop my phone all the time, which is not a good recipe. But nevertheless, I get a new screen.
Do you think this suite of phones is likely to work? Is it likely to capture markets that they didn't capture with the last iteration of the iPhone X?
The cheaper iPhone is an interesting new addition. It's actually not the first time they've done a cheaper version of a phone. They did do the iPhone 5C, which was it had a plastic body. It also had much drastically reduced features, and it didn't sell very well, and they discontinued it. So what's interesting about this cheap model is that it's got cheaper, it's aluminium instead of stainless steel, and a less good screen, but it has all the features like Face ID. Where I think they're really pushing for new markets is with this new model, big iPhone, very fancy, step up from the iPhone X. Some people are calling it the iPhone X Plus. It's got some code name of D33, but it's the biggest iPhone ever at 6.5 inches of screen, and it's actually one of the biggest phones out there, bigger than the biggest Samsungs, bigger than the biggest HTC. It's got a higher res screen than the iPhone X. There's rumours that it will have dual SIM cards, or they might wait for this new technology of eSIM cards, which basically is not a SIM card at all. You don't have to take anything out and take it in, which as someone who has had my life between two countries, that is a godsend. Like fiddling with SIM cards is the most ridiculous Ice Age thing that ever happened. But
the reason they're doing it is because Asian market, isn't it?
Is because China, basically, yes. So China currently is responsible for a third of the iPhones out there in the world. I was surprised that it was that many because of the top smartphones in the market in China, Apple is number 5. So 1 to 4 is occupied by Chinese brands.
Like Huawei and stuff like
Huawei,
that.
Oppo, Vivo, and what's the third one? Xiaomi.
I was in Shenzhen last year, and that's a city in the south of China where they make the iPhones, or they have historically. And it was really a good exercise to walk around that city and try and pick which Apple stores were legit and which ones weren't.
Yeah.
Because they were so
They're very
So
Legit
good.
looking.
Wow.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
You're a person that spent a significant chunk of your life living and working in China. Do you think this strategy is likely to work? Because the Chinese do like really big phones, apparently.
Yeah, they do. I don't think it will work, just based on the experience of every foreign tech company that has tried to break into the Chinese market. But what's interesting about the marketing strategies of these top 4 brands of phones is that a lot of them are achieving year-on-year growth by going out into regional, rural parts of China, setting up bricks and mortar stores and selling phones to people who actually probably don't already have internet access, can't buy them online, right? I can't imagine Apple going into like rural Guangxi province and setting up a little store to sell to, you know, small villages around that. I just don't think it's going to work. Apple definitely has a strong market in the very well-off city Chinese, and that will probably continue to grow. But no, I don't think it's going to make a big difference.
All right. There is lots more of this in the podcast of Download This Show. We're also talking about fake human faces. Yes, be afraid. It's all in the podcast right now. Thanks, guys.